Welcome to the Test Management Mindset, insights into the world of software testing. The best content by Practitest in audio form, designed to keep you inspired wherever you are. In today's episode, we'll review navigating through modern software testing complexities, the intricate nature of modern software systems, and the challenges they present. Let's get started.
We're going to be diving into the world of software testing. Which, believe it or not, it's a lot more complex than you might think.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got a stack of articles here that really highlight how the field has evolved, the challenges it faces, and all the strategies testers are using to keep up with the ever-increasing complexity of software these days.
That's right. It's definitely not just about clicking around and seeing if things break anymore.
Right.
The software landscape has changed dramatically, and testing has had to evolve right alongside it.
The sources all make it clear that the old find bugs, report bugs model is seriously outdated. So what does it actually look like now?
Well, think of it like a doctor diagnosing a patient.
Okay.
You need in-depth knowledge of how everything connects and interacts to know what to test and how to test it. You can't just randomly poke and prod and hope to find the problem.
That makes sense. So no more monkey testing, huh?
Exactly.
Just randomly hitting buttons and see what happens.
Yeah, that might catch some obvious issues, but it's not going to uncover the subtle interconnected problems that can really cripple a piece of software.
Right.
Today's testers need to be strategic and understand the bigger picture.
Okay, one of the articles talked about how agile methodologies, which are meant to speed up development, have actually made testing more complex. How does that work?
It does seem counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But those rapid release cycles in Agile put a ton of pressure on testers to keep pace. They often have less time for in-depth testing and have to constantly prioritize what to focus on.
I can see how that would be tricky.
Yes.
Especially since the sources all mention that Agile often involves releasing several interconnected features at once.
Right.
Isn't that asking for trouble?
It can be.
Yeah.
A small change in one feature could create unexpected issues in others, like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Testers really need to be thinking several steps ahead, anticipating these potential issues, and testing for them proactively.
So how do they even begin to tackle that?
Well,
I saw the articles mention some interesting approaches like risk-based testing. What is that exactly?
Risk-based testing is all about focusing your resources where they matter most.
Okay.
Instead of trying to test every single thing equally, you prioritize the areas most likely to have critical bugs and those with the biggest potential impact on users.
So like on an e-commerce site, you'd spend more time testing the checkout process than the About Us page.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Right.
The articles also mention something called rainy day scenarios.
Yes.
Which sounds kind of intriguing.
Rainy day scenarios are all about thinking outside the box.
Okay.
You're essentially trying to anticipate those unexpected things that users might do things that could trip them up, even if the software is technically working correctly.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. What happens if a user loses their internet connection in the middle of an online purchase?
Yeah.
Or what if they try to enter an emoji in a field that's supposed to be for numbers?
Okay.
These are the kinds of things that can cause major headaches if they're not caught early.
Okay. I'm starting to see how much more there is to this than I initially thought.
It's a whole world.
Yeah. So with all this complexity and Agile pushing for faster and faster development, how do testing teams avoid getting completely overwhelmed?
That's where things like test automation and centralized platforms come in.
Okay.
Automation handles those repetitive tasks, freeing up human testers to focus on more complex issues that require creativity and critical thinking. It's like having a robotic assistant do the basic checks so the doctor can concentrate on the more nuanced diagnosis.
And what about those centralized platforms?
Right.
Why are those important?
Think of it like having a patient's complete medical history at your fingertips.
Oh, okay.
A central platform keeps all testing data in one place, which makes it easier for everyone on the team to stay on the same page, collaborate efficiently, and make informed decisions throughout the entire testing process.
So we've established that software testing is a lot more involved than most people realize.
Yeah.
But let's get down to specifics.
Sure.
The articles we have here list a whole bunch of challenges that modern testers face. Which ones stand out to you as the most significant?
Well, we've already touched on the issue of interconnected features,
All right.
but it's a major headache for testers.
Yeah.
A small change in one part of the system can have completely unpredictable consequences in another.
Right.
It's like trying to track a chain reaction,
Yeah.
and it can be very difficult to prevent.
And I imagine that's even more challenging when you're dealing with those software suites
Oh, absolutely.
that have multiple applications working together.
It's like trying to solve a multidimensional puzzle.
Yeah.
Each piece has to work on its own, but they also have to fit together seamlessly and not interfere with each other's functionality. It's a constant balancing act.
Another challenge I saw mentioned was traceability.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean in the context of software testing?
Traceability is all about making sure you can trace every test case back to the original requirements.
Okay.
You need to know why you're running each test and what it's supposed to verify.
Gotcha.
It's also about tracking the progress of testing to ensure that everything is covered and nothing falls through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to manage, especially on large projects.
And we can't forget about the growing reliance on application integrations.
Oh, right.
Which adds another layer of complexity, right?
Right, absolutely. These days, software rarely exists in isolation.
Right.
You're almost always dealing with integrations with other systems, whether it's through APIs, native connections, or something else.
Yeah.
And testing those integrations requires a whole different set of skills and strategies.
Right.
You have to make sure data is flowing correctly, that the different systems are communicating properly, and that everything is working together harmoniously.
It sounds like there's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
With Agile pushing for faster releases and the increasing complexity of the software itself, I imagine testers are under constant pressure.
They are to thrive in this environment. Testers need to be incredibly organized, adaptable, and resourceful.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there are strategies and tools that can help them navigate these challenges and ensure the quality of the software we all rely on.
I'm really curious to learn more about those strategies.
Okay.
What are some things testers are doing to mitigate these risks and master this complexity?
That's a great question, and luckily the articles provide some practical tips that we can dive into.
Perfect. Let's get into those right after this.
Sounds good.
So where do we begin? What are some of these strategies that testers are using to deal with all this complexity?
Well, one of the foundational pieces is implementing a robust test management system.
Okay.
Think of it as a central command center for all things testing.
Okay, so like a place to keep track of all the tests, the results, who's doing what, that sort of thing.
Exactly. A good test management system helps you link all your testing artifacts,
Okay.
requirements, test cases, defects, execution results, and provides visibility into the entire process.
Okay.
This makes it much easier to track progress, identify gaps, and ensure that everything is connected and traceable.
That makes a lot of sense. But I imagine tools alone aren't enough.
Right.
The articles also emphasize the importance of good old-fashioned communication and collaboration.
Absolutely. Testing is a team sport, and everyone needs to be on the same page.
Right.
This means fostering a collaborative environment where testers can easily share information, discuss challenges, and coordinate their efforts.
So regular team meetings, brainstorming sessions, maybe even a dedicated Slack channel for testing.
Precisely. Anything that helps keep those lines of communication open and encourages knowledge sharing is going to be beneficial.
And we talked earlier about how important automation is. But how do you decide what to automate and what to leave for human testers?
That's where the concept of intelligent test automation comes in. The key is to identify those tasks that are repetitive, time-consuming, and prone to human error.
Yeah.
Those are the prime candidates for automation.
Right.
This frees up human testers to focus on more complex and creative tasks that require critical thinking and judgment.
So things like regression testing, where you're running the same test over and over again after each code change,
Yes.
would be a good candidate for automation.
Exactly. Regression testing is a perfect example of a task that can be easily and effectively automated.
Okay.
This not only saves time and effort, but also reduces the risk of human error and ensures that bugs that were previously fixed don't resurface.
The articles also talked about prioritizing testing efforts based on risk. How does that work in practice?
It's all about identifying the areas of the software that are most critical to the business and most likely to contain severe defects.
Right.
Those areas should be prioritized for testing, ensuring that the most important functionality is thoroughly vetted.
So going back to our e-commerce example, the checkout process would be considered high risk.
Yes.
And get more testing attention than, say, the Contact Us page.
Absolutely. Any bugs in the checkout process could directly impact revenue and customer satisfaction, so it's essential to test it rigorously. On the other hand, something like the Contact Us page, while important, might be considered lower risk and wouldn't necessarily require the same level of testing scrutiny.
Makes sense. It's about being strategic with your resources and focusing on the areas that matter most.
Exactly. And this is where close collaboration with other teams like product and development becomes really crucial.
Okay.
Testers need to understand the business priorities, the technical architecture, and the potential risks associated with different parts of the software.
Yeah.
This information helps them prioritize their testing efforts effectively.
We also touched on the idea of rainy day scenarios earlier. The articles seem to stress the importance of thinking outside the box and testing for those unexpected situations.
Right. It's not enough to just test the happy path where everything works as expected. Testers need to get creative and think about all the ways users could potentially break the software, either intentionally or unintentionally.
So they're basically trying to break the software on purpose.
In a controlled and systematic way, yes.
Okay.
By proactively identifying and addressing these edge cases, you can prevent those frustrating "how did that happen" moments for your users.
And speaking of frustrating moments, the articles also mention the challenge of dealing with duplicated testing efforts. What causes that, and how can it be avoided?
Duplicated testing can happen for a number of reasons, from poor communication to simply not knowing what tests have already been run.
Right.
It's a waste of time and resources,
Yeah.
and it can lead to delays and frustration.
So how do you prevent it?
The key is to have a centralized repository for all test cases, making it easy for everyone to see what's already been covered.
Okay.
This could be a shared spreadsheet, a dedicated test management tool, or even just a well-organized folder structure on a shared drive.
And of course, clear communication and documentation are critical.
Absolutely. Testers need to communicate clearly about what they're testing, what they've found, and what still needs to be covered.
Right.
This helps prevent overlap and ensures everyone is working towards the same goals.
It seems like modern software testing requires a pretty unique set of skills and a lot of adaptability.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
But by embracing these strategies, robust test management, clear communication, intelligent automation, risk-based prioritization, and creative thinking, testers can navigate the complexities and deliver high-quality software that meets user needs.
It sounds like testing is becoming more and more sophisticated, almost like a science in itself.
It is. And as software continues to evolve and become more complex, the role of the tester is only going to become more critical.
Yeah.
They are the guardians of quality, ensuring that the software works as expected and delivers a seamless and enjoyable user experience.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the challenges of Agile to the importance of risk assessment and intelligent testing. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to step back and consider the bigger picture for a moment. So we've been talking about all the nuts and bolts of software testing. But what's really striking me is how much this field is transformed. It's gone way beyond just finding bugs.
It really has, yeah. It's more about understanding the whole ecosystem of software development and making sure that quality is built in from the very beginning.
And it's clear that testers need a whole new toolkit to thrive in this environment. We've talked about technical skills like automation and test management, but what about those softer skills? How important are those?
They're absolutely essential. You could even argue that they're more important now than ever.
Okay.
Modern testers need to be excellent communicators, collaborators, and problem solvers.
Yeah.
They need to be able to think critically, adapt to change constantly, and advocate for quality within their teams.
It almost sounds like they need to be part detective, part diplomat, and part scientist all rolled into one.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Testers need to be able to investigate issues, communicate their findings clearly, and experiment with different approaches to find solutions.
And with artificial intelligence and machine learning becoming more prevalent in software, I imagine the role of the tester will continue to evolve even further.
Absolutely. AI and ML are already being used to automate certain aspects of testing, and that trend is only going to accelerate. But this doesn't mean human testers are going to become obsolete.
Right.
Instead, their roles will likely shift to focus on more strategic and complex tasks.
Like what kinds of tasks?
Things like designing and evaluating AI-powered testing tools,
Okay.
analyzing the results that those tools produce, and making critical decisions about risk and quality.
So the future of software testing is really about humans and machines working together, each playing to their strengths.
Precisely, it's about leveraging the best of both worlds to achieve the highest possible level of quality.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive into the world of software testing. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the complexity and the critical role it plays in our increasingly digital world.
I agree. It's definitely a field that's constantly evolving, and it's exciting to see how testers are rising to the challenge and finding new ways to ensure the quality of the software we all rely on.
It's something most of us probably take for granted. We just expect things to work.
Right, but behind every app that works flawlessly, every website that loads quickly, every piece of software that makes our lives easier, there's a team of dedicated testers who have poured their time and expertise into ensuring its quality.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So next time you use a piece of software that works exactly as it should take a moment to appreciate the hard work of those testers who made it possible.
I'll second that.
And until next time, keep diving deep and stay curious.